Every single label on that deli counter is lying to you in a different way. And the scariest part is the ones that look the healthiest are usually lying the hardest. Sodium nitrite turns into a group of compounds called nitrosamines once it hits your stomach. And the World Health Organization's Cancer Research Arm has classified processed meat as a Group 1 carcinogen, the same classification tier as tobacco, tied to an 18% jump in colorectal cancer risk for every 50 grams eaten daily. That is one deli sandwich. Every single day. You have probably already switched to the package that says uncured or no nitrites added, thinking you dodged the chemical. You did not. That label is built on a loophole, and in a few minutes you are going to hear exactly how it works. Last year, a listeria outbreak traced back to a single production line killed 10 people and put dozens more in the hospital. Nobody warned them. The label on their sandwich meat looked completely normal. Today, I am exposing 11 of the worst deli meat brands in the country, ranked from bad to absolutely do not touch it, using recalls, lab findings, and the government's own numbers. And when we are done, I will hand you 5 brands that are actually what they claim to be, plus how to skip the deli counter completely and still have real meat on your sandwich by tomorrow. Stick around until the end for that part. Let's start with the worst one on this list. Number 1. Boar's Head. For decades, Boar's Head sold itself as the premium name at the deli counter, the brand you paid extra for because you trusted it. In 2024, that trust collapsed. A listeria outbreak traced to Boar's Head's plant in Jarrett, Virginia, spread across 19 states. According to the Centers for Disease Control and the United States Department of Agriculture's Food Safety and Inspection Service, 10 people died. 61 were confirmed sick. The company recalled about 7 million pounds of ready-to-eat meat, one of the largest meat recalls in United States history. Here is the part that should really bother you. When federal inspectors went back through their records, they found 69 separate violations at that plant in the year before the outbreak, including mold and mildew growing near the sinks where workers were supposed to be handling meat that was already cooked and ready to eat. This was not a surprise. It was ignored. Eating deli meat from a facility with a documented history of unsanitary conditions can expose you to listeria, a bacteria the Centers for Disease Control says can cause severe illness or death, especially if you are pregnant, elderly, or immune-compromised. And if you think a scandal like that only happens once, wait until you hear who is number 2. Number 2. BrucePac. You have probably never heard the name BrucePac, and that is exactly the problem. BrucePac does not sell meat under its own name. It manufactures ready-to-eat chicken and turkey that gets packaged and sold under dozens of different store brands. So when something goes wrong, most shoppers have no idea it touches them at all. In October of 2024, the Food Safety and Inspection Service confirmed that BrucePac's ready-to-eat poultry tested positive for Listeria monocytogenes. The recall expanded twice, eventually covering close to 11,765,000 pounds of product, shipped to restaurants, schools, and grocery chains across the country under labels most people trusted completely. You could have been eating contaminated chicken with a brand name you like on the front, made by a company you have never even heard of. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is just how the deli supply chain actually works. The next brand at least puts its own name on the package. That does not make it safe. Number 3. Oscar Mayer. Oscar Mayer is one of the most recognized names in American lunch meat, the brand practically every kid grew up eating. Read the ingredient label and the picture changes fast. Corn syrup sits near the top of the ingredient list on many Oscar Mayer products, right alongside sodium nitrite, and the meat itself is frequently mechanically separated chicken or a paste made by forcing carcass remains through a sieve under high pressure instead of slicing whole muscle meat. Regularly eating meat cured with sodium nitrite and built on mechanically separated protein can, over time, contribute to the same colorectal cancer risk the World Health Organization attached to processed meat as an entire category. A trusted name on the front of the package does not tell you what is actually inside it. Number 4. Boodig. Bodig built its whole brand on being the thin-sliced, budget-friendly deli meat you keep in the fridge for quick lunches. According to reporting from Tasting Table, Bodig meat is injected with a water and salt solution that can make up as much as 15% of the product's total weight. You are not just buying less meat for your money, you are buying water dressed up as meat. That same water carries the salt. A single serving of Bodig lunch meat can account for roughly a quarter of your entire recommended sodium intake for the day, packed into a few slices most people eat without giving it a second thought. Regularly eating that much sodium in one sitting can, over time, raise your blood pressure and strain your heart. And the store brand right below it is doing something just as sneaky. Number 5. Great Value, Walmart's house brand. Great Value deli meat is cheap for a reason. It is cured with sodium nitrite like most of this list, but the sodium numbers are what really stand out. Tasting Table reports that a 2-ounce serving of Great Value Black Forest ham carries about 23% of your recommended daily sodium, in a portion most people would call a light snack, not a meal. That is nearly a quarter of your entire day's sodium budget sitting in a handful of ham slices stacked on a sandwich you will forget you ate by tomorrow. Consistently eating sodium at that level can, over time, contribute to high blood pressure and heart disease, according to nutrition researchers who track sodium intake nationally. Walmart is not alone in this. The next brand hides its sugar the same way. Great Value hides its salt. Number 6. Lando Frost. Lando Frost markets itself as the family-friendly deli meat brand, the one in the bright packaging aimed straight at kids' lunchboxes. Behind that packaging sits the same sodium nitrite and sodium salts used across this entire list, plus something the other brands so far have not needed. According to Tasting Table, several Lando Frost products list added sugar high on the ingredient panel, and some use caramel color, a coloring agent that can contain a compound called 4-MEI, a substance the state of California lists as a possible carcinogen. Feeding a child a nitrite-cured, sugar-added lunch meat colored with a chemical additive every single school day can, over time, add up to a lot more exposure than one sandwich suggests. That is halfway through this list. If you are still with me, drop the number 6 in the comments so I know you made it this far. And while you are down there, go ahead and subscribe and ring the bell so you do not miss the next brand breakdown. Now, let's keep going, because the next 5 brands get worse. Number 7. Armour. Armour has been a grocery store staple for generations. The kind of name that feels old and trustworthy, just because it has been around so long. Longevity is not the same thing as quality. Tasting Table reports that Armour lunch meat is frequently built on mechanically separated poultry as a primary ingredient, preserved with the antioxidants BHA and BHT, both still permitted by the Food and Drug Administration, but flagged by independent researchers over long-term safety concerns, plus corn syrup mixed in for flavor and shelf life. Eating mechanically separated meat treated with synthetic preservatives on a regular basis can, over time, add up in ways a single sandwich never will. A recognizable name on a shelf that has not changed in decades is not the same thing as a brand that has earned it. Number 8. Eckrich. Eckrich leans hard on its smokehouse imagery, all rustic packaging and old-fashioned typefaces designed to make you picture a real butcher shop. According to Tasting Table, the actual ingredient list tells a different story. Mechanically separated turkey and chicken show up as a base ingredient in several Eckrich products, and corn syrup along with dextrose, a form of added sugar, sit inside the top 4 ingredients on the label. That means a meat product marketed on nostalgia is, by ingredient weight, closer to a sugar-cured paste than the whole muscle deli meat the packaging implies. Eating a mechanically separated, sugar-cured product regularly can, over time, work against you the same way any other processed meat on this list can. Packaging can sell you a story. It cannot change what is actually inside the wrapper. Number 9. Wellshire Farm. Wellshire Farm has spent years building an image around slow-smoked, small-batch-style sausage and lunch meat. Tasting Table's ingredient breakdown found added sugar and maltodextrin, a highly processed starch-based filler, showing up across multiple Wellshire Farm products, the kind of ingredients that pad out a product without adding any real meat. The bigger problem is not just what is in the ingredient list. In September of 2023, the Food Safety and Inspection Service confirmed that Wellshire Farms' parent company recalled about 15,876 pounds of smoked sausage after consumers found bone fragments inside sealed packages. Finding bone fragments in a product that has already passed through industrial processing and packaging is not a fluke. It is a sign of how fast that production line was moving when nobody caught it. A brand that sells you nostalgia should not also be sending bone fragments to your kitchen table. Number 10. Boar. Boar is one of the biggest producers of hot dogs and corn dogs sold under store brand labels across the country, and according to Tasting Table, mechanically separated chicken is listed as the main ingredient in several of its products, thickened with carcinogen, an additive extracted from seaweed that has drawn its own safety questions from independent researchers over the years. Boar has also been named in Food Safety and Inspection Service recalls covering franks and corn dogs pulled from shelves over listeria contamination concerns, the same bacteria that killed 10 people in the Boar's Head outbreak earlier on this list. A hot dog built on mechanically separated meat, a seaweed-derived thickener, and a documented listeria recall history is not the quick lunch bargain it looks like on the shelf. One more brand to go before we get to the good news. Number 11. Hormel, the conventional line. Hormel is a massive company, and most of its everyday deli hams and bolognas are cured the same way as everything else on this list, with sodium nitrite. In February of 2024, the Food Safety and Inspection Service confirmed that Hormel recalled about 945 pounds of ready-to-eat spiced deli ham after deli workers discovered the product actually contained cheese that was never declared anywhere on the label, a serious problem for anyone with a milk allergy who had no way of knowing it was there. Here is the twist. Hormel actually owns a cleaner subline called Natural Choice, made without the nitrites and fillers found in its conventional products. So the same company that sold you a nitrite-cured ham with an undeclared allergen inside it also knows exactly how to make one without those problems. It simply is not the one on the shelf you are most likely to grab. That closes out the 11 worst deli meat brands in the country. Now, it is time for the good news. After watching 11 of the biggest names at the deli counter get exposed, you are probably wondering if there is anything left you can actually trust. There is. These 5 brands do it the right way, verified by their own labels and outside sources. And they prove real deli meat is still out there if you know where to look. Applegate, both the naturals and organics lines. Applegate built its entire business around the promise this list has been missing: meat with no added nitrites and no fillers, sourced from animals raised without antibiotics. Applegate's naturals line covers the everyday deli case, and the organics line goes a step further with certified organic sourcing on top of that. Consumer advocates and nutrition writers regularly point to Applegate as one of the few widely available brands that actually delivers on the clean label promise, instead of hiding behind it, and you will find it in the deli case at most major grocery chains, not tucked away in some specialty shop across town. Yes, it costs more than Ostermeyer. What you are actually paying for is a brand that will not need 11 minutes of a video like this one someday. Amples. 2. Niman Ranch. Niman Ranch started decades ago as a small network of independent farmers who refused to use the shortcuts the rest of this list is built on. Every Niman Ranch product ships with no nitrites and no fillers, and the company carries certified humane certification along with a strict no antibiotics ever standard across its entire supply chain, verified by third-party auditors, not just a claim printed on the package. That combination, real welfare standards plus a clean ingredient list, is genuinely rare at this scale. Most brands pick one and market it hard. Niman Ranch has spent years actually doing both. A package of Niman Ranch deli meat costs more than the brands on the avoid list. Given what those brands were hiding, that price difference starts to make a lot more sense. Wellshire Farms. Wellshire Farms built its reputation on nitrate-free deli meat and hot dogs with no fillers added. at a price point that sits below the premium organic brands, but well above anything on the avoid list. You will find Wellshire Farms in the natural food section of most major grocery chains, not tucked away in a specialty store you have to drive across town to find. It will not have the name recognition, Oscar Mayer or Hormel, built over decades of advertising, and that is exactly the point. Wellshire Farms spent its marketing budget on the meat instead of the jingle. Sometimes, the brand you have never heard of is the one actually doing this right. Columbus Craft Meats. Columbus Craft Meats makes charcuterie style deli meat, salami, prosciutto, and sliced Italian meats, with no nitrates, no fillers, and no artificial preservatives anywhere on the ingredient label. This is deli meat built closer to how an old-world butcher shop actually made it, using salt, thyme, and real cuts of meat instead of a chemical shortcut. You will pay a noticeably higher price than the mass-produced brands on this list, and the flavor difference is part of what you are paying for, not just the clean ingredient panel. For anyone building a real charcuterie board instead of a quick sandwich, Columbus Craft Meats is the brand worth the extra cost. Real craftsmanship costs more than a shortcut. It always has. Roast your own whole muscle turkey breast at home. This is the option with zero additives, because there are none to add. A whole turkey breast from your grocery store's meat counter, roasted at home with just salt and whatever seasoning you like, has no sodium nitrite, no mechanically separated filler, no water plumping, and no chance of picking up listeria from a production line that has been cross-contaminating meat all day long. The exact kind of failure tied to that 10-person death toll earlier in this video. Roast it on a Sunday, let it cool, slice it thin with a sharp knife, and you have a week of sandwich meat that cost less per pound than most of the brands you just watched get exposed, with an ingredient list of exactly one item, turkey. It takes about an hour in the oven. It is the single cleanest deli meat on this entire list, and it never left your own kitchen. Now for the part I promised at the start, how to build your own deli meat at home so you never have to trust a label again. Start with a whole muscle cut, a turkey breast, a beef eye of round for roast beef, or a boneless pork loin for a ham-style slice. Whole muscle means the cut is one solid piece of meat, not the mechanically separated paste half the brands on this list are built from. The night before, salt the meat generously on every side and leave it uncovered in the refrigerator overnight. This dry brine pulls moisture to the surface, then draws it back in along with the salt, seasoning the meat all the way through instead of just the outside. And it is the same basic principle that used to make old-fashioned cured meat safe before anyone reached for a nitrite shortcut. Roast low and slow. Somewhere around 225 degrees Fahrenheit is a good target for most whole muscle cuts, until the internal temperature hits a safe finish. About 165 degrees for turkey, or around 140 degrees for a rare roast beef, if that is how you like it, checked with an actual meat thermometer, never a guess. Here is the step almost everyone skips. Let the meat cool completely, all the way down to room temperature, before you even think about slicing it. Slicing hot meat tears the fibers apart, and you lose all the moisture into the cutting board instead of into the sandwich. A fully cooled roast slices thin and clean with a sharp knife. Slice only what you will eat in the next 4 to 5 days, and freeze the rest in flat, tightly sealed portions you can thaw overnight in the fridge whenever you need them. One roast, done on a Sunday afternoon, replaces an entire week of deli counter visits. And every slice comes from a kitchen you control instead of a production line. Nobody is cleaning as often as they should be. Here is what this whole video comes down to. The fanciest packaging in the deli case does not tell you what is actually inside it, and the plainest looking option, a turkey breast you roast yourself, can be the safest thing on the entire counter. Know the difference between an uncured label and an actual clean ingredient list. Choose one of the 5 brands that earned it, or spend an hour on a Sunday and skip the deli counter completely. If this saved you from grabbing the wrong package next time you are at the store, share it with whoever does your family's grocery shopping. I will see you in the next one, where we expose what is really hiding in your